Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wal aqibatu lil muttaqeen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidil Mursaleen. Amma ba'd. Assalamu alaikum to all students. Inshallah, we'll be carrying on with the next chapters on Tahara. But before we do so, I wanted to go over the questions from last session. And these questions, 49. Okay, the questions are on page 49. The first question is asking, what are the arkans of Wudhu and in which ayah of the Qur'an have they been collected and mentioned in? So what are the farais? What are the four main actions of Wudhu? So the ayah is in Surah Al-Ma'idah, ayat number 6, where it says, where Allah Ta'ala, He says, يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا قمتم إلى الصلاة فاغسلوا وجوهكم وأيديكم إلى المرافق وامسحوا برؤوسكم وأرجلكم إلى الكعبين. Okay, the next question. What should a person do when his beard covers anything of his face or from his face? The answer is that if it is a thick beard, in which the skin underneath the beard is not exposed or cannot be seen, then he will do khilal of the beard. He will wash the beard and he will do khilal of the remainder of the beard, which is off his face, which is hanging off. And if it is a light beard, meaning that the hairs are so thin or so scattered that one is able to see the skin underneath, then it is compulsory for him to wash the skin underneath his beard also, to make sure the water reaches that skin. Okay, moving on, the next part, mention 5 sunnat acts of the Wudhu, and then mention all of the things which break the Wudhu. So 5 sunnat acts of Wudhu, any 5 from the 15 or so which have been mentioned. The first, I am just going to read the first 5. The intention that he is performing Wudhu, to remove the impurities, and so that he may read his salah or any other act of worship. Number 2, that he reads the Bismillah before he begins Wudhu, or he reads Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Number 3, he washes both hands up and including his wrists in the beginning of Wudhu. And this has been emphasized for a person who has just woken up from his sleep. Number 4, to use a miswak, the toothstick. And number 5, to rinse the mouth out or to gargle the mouth out. And the actions which break the Wudhu, there are approximately 8, I think, they are mentioned here. One second. Yes, there are 8 mentioned here. I'm not going to read all 8 out, but they can be found from page 46 to page 47. Okay? If you have any more queries about that, please get in touch. Number 4, what is the meaning of the word wila? Now, and what should a person recite after he has completed his ablution? Wila means the order and the steps that you perform the ablution in, the wuzu in. So first we wash our wrists, our hands, our wrists, then we gargle the mouth, and we put water into the nose, and then we wash our face, etc. So the order in which the wuzu is performed in. And what should a person recite after he has completed his ablution? In last session I mentioned 3 or 4 different things from the explanatory notes of Tirmizi. Okay, so just to briefly go over that, is that he recites أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله اللهم اجعلني من التوابين واجعلني من المتطهرين. And he can also further add to that سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. Okay, and it's a very beautiful section in the explanatory notes of Tirmizi that encompasses all of those du'as. The last question for this part is asking that what is haram for a person to do when he is not in the state of having a wuzu. So what can he not do So he cannot read any of the Farz Salah or any of the Nawafil Salah. He cannot perform Salatul Janazah. He cannot perform the Sajda Tilawat. Again, that was mentioned in the last session what Sajda Tilawat is. He cannot hold or touch a Quran or anything which has the ayats of the Quran on. And he is not allowed to perform the circumambulation, the tawaf of the Kaaba. Okay? If any of you got all 5 questions right, please let me know via the website. Okay, the next section is asking to circle and underline the correct answers. From the sunnahs of wuzu is that he makes the intention to remove any impurities, the middle one. Okay, ya'khudul ma, for gargling his mouth out and for cleaning his nose out. Will he take the water with his left hand, his right hand, or in that there is a very deeper explanation? The answer is that he will take the water with his right hand. The middle one, he will take the water with his right hand. And he will wash it and clean his nose out with the small finger of his left hand. To perform masah of the throat, is it sunnat, bid'ah or mustahab? Answer is it is bid'ah. To perform wuzu to recite the Qur'an, is it mustahab? Is it wajib? Is it mustahab for somebody who is not in the state of having an impurity on him? The answer is it is mustahab for a person who is going to recite the Qur'an without touching the Qur'an to be in the state of wuzu. So if I'm just sitting here and I want to recite the Qur'an, I'm not going to touch the Qur'an. I do not have to be in a state of wuzu, but it is desirable. It is mustahab for me to be in that state of wuzu. And the last question, to perform wuzu when he has the intention of eating or drinking or sleeping, is that mustahab? Is it wajib? Is it mustahab for somebody who is in the state of janabat? And the answer is that it is mustahab for somebody who is in the state of janabat. And I'm moving to the last section for this area, for these questions. State which sentences are correct, whether they're true or false, and if they are false, then what is the correct statement? If a person he finds on his skin something such as wax or flour, then his wuzu is not being performed correctly. The answer is yes, that's correct. What he should do is remove that item and then wash that part again. The same goes for using Tipex or whitewash or any type of permanent marker ink that goes onto your fingers. You should wash that off thoroughly. Aim to wash it off when you are performing wuzu. The next, number 2, it is desirable, it is mustahab to move a ring. It's the same whether it is tight fitting or whether it is loose fitting. That is not correct, because a loose fitting ring you do not have to move it. A tight fitting ring you must move it around so the water reaches underneath. Now somebody once asked me that why does a person not just take his ring off and put it aside while he or she is performing wuzu? Answer is that if you might be in a rush, you might leave your ring in the masjid, it might go missing. So it is better to sometimes just move the ring and make sure the water reaches underneath and keep the ring on. Number 3, when there are certain grooves or wrinkles in his skin, it is permissible for him to perform masah over that when it is difficult for him to wash into those grooves. The cracks in the skin of the feet, in the heels or the skin of the feet, to do masah over that is sufficient. It is allowed. It is permissible. Okay, so that sentence is correct. When he has shaved his head or he has cut his nails after performing wuzu, then it is upon him that he redoes his wuzu. That's incorrect. He does not need to redo his wuzu. His wuzu does not break by cutting the nails, etc. Number 5, it is desirable, mustahab, to thoroughly wash the mouth and the nose. When he gargles his mouth out, when he washes his mouth out, it is desirable to emphasize that, except when he is in a state of fasting. That's true, that's correct. It is disliked that the person talks by the speech people would use while he is performing ablution without a dire necessity. That's true, that is correct. The wuzu will break when blood has come out from his body, when it is very little and it has not flowed from its place. That is incorrect. The blood must flow from the wound for the wuzu to be broken. And the last statement. The wuzu does not break when a person is sleeping and he is in raku, or he is sitting and he is sitting on the ground and he does not move out of that position. That is true, that is correct. Okay, anybody who got all of those questions right, please let me know. If you got 50% right or you're not sure about certain things, please get back to us or get back to me inshallah on the website. Now moving on. The set of questions from last session was on ghusl, a shariat ghusl, a shari'i ghusl, a bath. So these questions can be found on page 55. Okay, so the first question is it wajib for a person who is taking a ghusl to wash his skin when something of his hair covers his body? Okay, so when your hair covers parts of the body, is it wajib to wash the skin underneath? The answer is yes. You've got to thoroughly rub the body so water reaches the skin. Okay, number 2, what is the difference between the hair of a man when it is in plaits or braids and the hair of a lady when it is in plaits or braids? The answer is that if the lady's hair is in plaits or in that formation, then it is not compulsory for her to wash her whole hair. She can do massa of her hair and wash her scalp thoroughly. Whereas for the man, he mustn't do his braids and make sure all of his hair and scalp is washed thoroughly. Number 3, what is the method of performing a sunnat ghusl with tafsir, with a deeper explanation, with a thorough explanation? The answer you can find on page 51. Okay, there's a few points written there. The first being that a person must perform his intention of ghusl. The second being that he starts by washing both of his wrists, and he cleans any impurities which are on his body, which are on his private parts. He performs a full ablution, and he then washes his entire body 3 times in such a manner that he starts from his right and he goes over to his left side, and then he pours water over his shoulders, and that he washes inside his belly button, inside his earlobes, his nostrils, his mouth, etc. thoroughly, and that he washes his feet after he has finished his ablution separately, especially where there is an area where the water is collecting and there is no drainage system. Okay, question number 4. What is the ruling for somebody who has been afflicted by Haduth al-Akbar, and when is a ghusl wajib upon him? Ghusl is wajib in 3 situations: by the ejaculation of sperm, or by having a wet dream, or anything of that nature in which sperm is ejaculated from the body. Number 2, by having sexual intercourse, husband and wife. And number 3, now just to make a point, I do know that in the real world out there, people that commit sexual intercourse and they are not in wedlock, it is zina, it is haram, and even then a ghusl is farz upon those people. So I know I said husband and wife, but that does not exempt the people who are doing haram, they are also in need of a farz ghusl. Allah save us from haram, but just want to make that clear. Number 3, for a lady who has been afflicted by hairs or nifas, then it is compulsory for her to perform a ghusl when her time of that has ended. Okay, when is it sunnah to perform ghusl? And mention 5 places or situations when it is desirable for a person to take a ghusl. Okay, so there are 4 places where it is sunnah to take a ghusl. One is for Salatul Jum'ah. Okay, and that is Sunnat al-Mu'akkada. It is the most emphasized from the sunnah places for taking a ghusl. Salatul Eidain, for the 2 Eid salats. For the pilgrim, when he is in the plains of Arafat, after the sun has passed his meridian, after Zawal time, okay, for the Haji, it is sunnah to perform a ghusl. And for the person who is putting on ihram, before he or she puts the ihram on and makes the intention, it is sunnah for them to perform a ghusl. And 5 places where it is desirable for a person to take a ghusl is mustahab. I'm just going to mention 5 random ones, just not in order. For Salatul Khusuf or Khusuf, and for water, for the salat, for when one is requesting water from Allah Ta'ala, Salatul Istisqa. And for somebody who has just given a bath to the deceased, for them to perform a ghusl, it is mustahab. After taking hijama, after having blood cupping done, it is mustahab for the person to take a ghusl. And for somebody who is to enter Makkah and Medina, Makkah or Medina, Makkah and Medina, it is desirable for them to take a ghusl. And number 5 will be for somebody who has traveled or somebody whose bodily odors have changed and he's going to the gathering of people, it is mustahab for him or her to take a bath or a shower even. It's the same thing, I suppose. A shower can be deemed as a shari ghusl, and all of the sunnahs and farais are adhered to. But somebody did once ask me that, at home I have a shower, I don't have a bucket and a jug to perform ghusl. I said that you can perform a faraz ghusl using a shower, as long as you rinse your mouth out and your nose out, and you make sure the water reaches everywhere thoroughly. Okay, the next section is asking that which of the given answers is correct. That which of the following is not from the sunnats of ghusl? Is it to make the intention? Is it to say Bismillah? Is it to gargle the mouth out? Or is it to pour water over the entire body? Which is not a sunnat? The answer is to gargle the mouth out, because to gargle the mouth out in ghusl is faraz. It is, you must do that. So that is not a sunnah. Number 2, from the things which make a ghusl wajib, which make a ghusl compulsory, is it to release wind from the body? Is it the ejaculation of sperm from the body? Or is it the blood coming out of the body? The answer is it is the ejaculation of sperm, the sperm coming out of the body. It will make ghusl wajib. Number 3, it is forbidden on a person who is in the state of janaba to read du'as, or is it to read verses of the Qur'an, or is it to read a word after a word from the Qur'an, pausing after each word, or after every 2 words, for the purposes of teaching a lesson? So which one of this is forbidden? So the answer is to recite verses of the Qur'an. The next section is it true or false, and if it's false, write in the correct answer. that when a person taking a bath, he washes his body and he gargles his mouth out with water and he cleans his nose out. His ghusl is correct, but he has left out the sunnats. That is correct. That's true. For a person whose wuzu has broken, that he washes the hair and the skin underneath his beard. For somebody whose beard is extremely light, that is true. Number 3, that he performs an ablution, he performs wuzu before he washes his entire body. A complete wuzu, except when the water it accumulates below him. Okay, now that question is not correct. Okay, because of this sentence over here, where it says when the water accumulates beneath him. Whether the water accumulates beneath him or not, it is sunnat to perform the wuzu before taking a full bath. Okay, so that's not correct. Now number 4, to take a ghusl on the day of Jummah is from the most emphasized places of ghusl. Okay, now that's a tricky question because it is true in the sense that it is sunnat mu'akkada, it is very emphasized to take a ghusl on a day of Jummah. But if you look at the text on page, on page 53, the text reads the Salat al-Jumu'ah, for the Salat of Jummah, and here it says the day of Jummah. So from my understanding, it is sunnat mu'akkada, it is sunnah to take a ghusl on the day of Jummah, and not just for the Jummah Salah. That's my understanding, because a person who is traveling, for them Jummah Salat is not compulsory, but they can still take a bath to honor the day of Jummah. If anybody has anything to add to that, please get in touch. And the last part is to fill in the blanks with the appropriate words. Now, I'm only going to translate this into English. Okay? So to perform, it is obligatory, it is for us in wuzu to wash the face from the forehead, from the top of the forehead to below the chin, and from one earlobe to the other earlobe. And we mentioned in the last session that if somebody has a beard and the beard hair it covers the face and there's a gap between the beard hair and the earlobe, you must wash that skin in between as well. 2, to wash the arms from the fingertips to and including the elbows. To wash the forearms, the fingertips up to and including the elbows. What that means is if you bend your forearm, if you bend your arm to wash the elbow, okay, thoroughly, while doing wuzu. And the last question, it is obligatory to wash the feet from the toes up to and including the ankles. From the toes up to the ankles, including the ankles. Now, if you got all of those questions are correct, please let me know. Okay. Now we're going to commence onto the next chapter, which is pertaining to the types of water. Abwabul Miyah. Miyah is a plural of the word Ma'un, chapters on water. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said in the Qur'an, وَأَنزَلْنَا مِنَ السَّمَاءِ مَاءً طَهُورًا, and we have revealed from the skies pure water. In Surah Furqan, verse number 48. Okay, now when we perform a ghusl or a wuzu to remove impurities, what type of water should we use? There's plenty of science in this. It's a very interesting topic, and one that intrigues me a lot because of the uses of science and observation that comes in this. Okay. Now, impurities cannot be removed except by pure water, which itself is pure to pure, okay, or something which can make something pure. When somebody does not find water, it is compulsory for him to or her to perform tayammum, and there is a separate chapter explaining what tayammum is. Now it is necessary for us to understand here what the different types of water are, and there are three types. There are three main types of water in Sharia. Right. First one is Tahirun Mutahhirun. Tahirun Mutahhirun is that water which is generally clean, and it has not changed, and nothing has overpowered the qualities of the water. And that water has not been used for purification purposes. It has not been used to remove any other impurities. And such water is called Ma'ul Mutlaq, meaning just general water, normal water. So, Ma'ul Mutlaq. Now, I want to bring your attention to the footnotes over here. Now, looking at the footnotes over here, says that when a human being or animal has drunk from a water, let's take for example a bowl of water or a glass of water, and it drinks from that water, or some animal comes and drinks from that water. Okay, so that water, that remaining water, will be under two possible rulings. Either that it is makruh or it is mashkuk fi tuhuriyatihi. So, which means that it is makruh, meaning it's disliked, or that it is doubtful whether that water is clean and it can be used to make something else clean. So there's doubt in the purity of that water. Okay, the further details will come later on. Footnote number 2 is explaining 5 different types of water. Okay, the first one being Ma'ul Mutlaq, the water which is just general water and it has not come from trees or flowers, etc. The second is that water which has not changed due to cooking or anything similar to cooking. Okay. The third is that water which has not been overpowered by something which is clean, okay, or something which is tahir. Number 4, that the water itself has not already been used for Wudhu or Ghusl. And number 5 is that the water has not been made impure. Now that's a brief outline of the 5 types of water, okay, and each one is going to be explained in detail. Okay, so just keep that in mind for now. Okay, now looking at this section over here, the water which is not allowed to be used for ghusl or for wuzu. Okay, water which is not mutlaq, water which is not general, meaning it has been extracted from either a tree or a flower, or it has come from a tree or a flower, such as coconut water. Okay, coconut water. We cannot use coconut water for an ablution or for a bath. Water which has changed due to it being cooked. Okay, like for lentils or for soup or for other things. The qualities of the water have changed. Okay, a water which has changed and it is no longer called water, such as Nabidh al-Tamar. Nabidh al-Tamar is when a person would take some dates, some kajur, and he would take out the stone of the kajur, the seed of the kajur, and he soaks the flesh of the kajur in water and leaves it overnight in a cold place, preferably in a fridge. And then in the morning he sieves that solution out, he throws the soaked flesh of the kajurs away, and he drinks that remaining solution. That solution is called Nabidh al-Tamar. So we no longer call it water, it's called Nabidh. So that Nabiz is not allowed, that is used for purification purposes such as Wudhu or for Ghusl. So, rose water. Okay, again that comes under the first category of it being extracted from a flower. And vinegar. These items are not used or not to be used for purification for Wudhu or for Ghusl. Now the next category is water which has been mixed with something which is pure, and that pure object has overpowered the qualities of the water. Okay, so this water or these types of waters cannot be used to remove a hadath, impurity, but it can be used to remove najasatul haqiqiyah. If you think back to the beginning of the lessons on Tahara, we went through najasat hukmiyah and we went over what najasat haqiqiyah is. So I'm not going to say anything more on that, okay? Right. Now, firstly, we looked at the water which is Tahir and Mutahhir. Now, the second category here is Tahir and Mutahhir. Water which itself is pure, but it cannot be used to make something else pure. وَهُوَ الْمَاءُ الْمُسْتَعْمَلُ, and that is water which has been used. Musta'mal means water which has been used. And water which has been used means that it has already been used for an ablution, or it has already been used for a ghusl, to remove al-hadath, or lil-qurba. Now hadath, we should already be acquainted with the meaning of that word. Qurba means thawab. It means to gain a reward or a merit. So somebody already has read his Zuhr namaz and he has wuzu already ready. And then for his asr he wants to renew his wuzu simply because he wants to gain the reward and the extra merit for performing a wuzu on top of a wuzu. Okay, so that water which has been used is ma'ul musta'mal still. Okay, so even though the person is in wuzu and he does wuzu again, the second water he used for the second wudu is still ma'ul musta'mal, and it cannot be used again for wuzu. Now, when do we refer to water as ma'ul musta'mal? We will say that it is ma'ul musta'mal when it has separated from the body, إذا انفصل عن الجسد. When it has separated from the body, meaning it has dripped away from the body, or you have used a towel or a tissue or something to soak up the water, it has separated from the body. That water is ma'ul musta'mal. Now it says that ma'ul musta'mal is itself clean, is pure, and it can be used to remove najasat haqiqiyah, but it cannot be used to remove a hadath, such as person who is in state of janabat, etc. Okay, the third type of water in Shariat is najis, or the water which has been made impure, which has been made impure. Now that is water which is less in quantity, and it is stagnant water, it is still water, it is not flowing water. That could mean it could be inside a pond or a small lake or something, or an extremely small lake, or even inside a bowl. Okay, the water which is not flowing, and it has been made impure because of impurities falling into it. It is the same whether the effect of the impurity is visible in the water on it or not. Okay, so let's take an example that there's a small pond somewhere in a park or somewhere, and some impurity has fallen inside it, so najasat haqiqi, and the effect of that is visible in the water, like the color has changed or the fluidity of the water has changed, then the water is najis. Or some impurity has fallen into the water and it is not visible. It can only be visible if you taste the water, etc. So that water is deemed as najis. Now, if the water is abundant in quantity, or it is flowing water, such as a stream or a river or a giant reservoir, then that water will not be made impure except when the effect of the impurity is visible in the water. Okay? Now, the question which arises here is that what is deemed as abundant and what is deemed as a little, Qaleel and Katheer. What are the two definitions for these waters? So, abundant water, Ma'ul Katheer, will be in a large reservoir, also known as a house. Okay, now in many other countries, outside the massages, there's a small, like a swimming pool or a small fountain made outside, in which people will perform the ablution in. Okay, it's even in the Middle East, you see this outside the masajids. So abundant here, it means that if you were to go to one corner of this reservoir and move the water with your hand or something, and the water, it makes a wave, and the other side of that reservoir is not affected. Okay, so that is how big the reservoir should be to be deemed as Katheer. And also that if you were to take a handful of water, then the bottom of that reservoir or the dust at the bottom is not affected. Okay, so that's the definition of water which is abundant. And when you go further on, it says over here, Ashara Azra, Zira. Now there's a measurement in Shariat known as Zira. It has to be 10 by 10. Okay? So on the next page, it has to be 10 by 10. وَأَرْضُهُ أَشْرَ Azra. So I also want to bring your attention to the footnotes. Okay, right, here's a bit of measurements. Az-Zira, it is 46,375. Okay, 46,375, 46375 centimeters approximately. Seen and meme here is referring to centimeters. Taqriban is referring to approximately. Okay, 46,375 centimeters. Okay, meaning it is near to half a meter. And the quantity for a house is 5 meters by 5 meters approximately. And there is a slight difference of opinion onto the depth or how deep it should be. So generally it has been accepted that the depth should be such that if you were to pick up a handful of water, then the bottom dust is not affected. It doesn't come up when you take up the water with your hand. So we're talking roughly a foot or a foot and a half approximately. Okay, from experience. Okay, now if you're not sure on that, please ask for verification. Okay, now the next category, Mount Qaleel. Anything which is smaller than 10 by 10, okay, or smaller than the measurements has just been given, is deemed as Mount Qaleel. And Mount Jari, flowing water which is flowing, is the same as a river or a small stream which will be found, and it will be deemed as a reservoir or a flowing reservoir when the water has entered from one side and it has left from the other side. From one corner it has entered and it has left from the other corner. And the ruling for water which is impure, or ma'un najis, the ruling is that لا يزول به الحدث ولا نجاسة. That hadath or najasat will not be able to become clean from it. What that means is somebody who is in a state of hadath al-akbar or hadath al-asghar, he will or she will not be able to gain purity from that. And if there is anything napak, anything impure on an item of clothing or any other item, that will not be able to be washed with ma'un najis, and it will not be able to become clean. When the water, the impure water, is mixed with something else, that too will become impure. Now, next chapter, the title is, what is the ruling for water when it has been mixed with something which is pure? So we have just looked at what the ruling is for water when it is mixed with something impure. What is the ruling for water when something pure or something clean has fallen into it or has mixed with it? So the ruling is that when water has been mixed with something pure or something clean, and that object which is clean and pure has not overcome the qualities of the water, it is permissible to gain purity from that water. Okay? So you have a reservoir, a lake, or even a bowl of water, and something pure has fallen into it, and the qualities of the pure item has not overpowered the qualities of the water, then it is allowed, it is permissible to gain purity from that water. And when that object has overpowered the qualities of the water, it is not allowed to gain purity from that water. And explanations and deeper explanations of that is as follows. Now, when the water has been mixed with something which is a solid, jamid means solid, such as a fruit or leaves of a tree, and the same is soap, sabun, soap or flour or saffron, flour as in F-L-O-U-R, flour, the dough that we make bread from, and saffron, and these items have not overpowered the quality of the water. They have not become so mixed that the effect is apparent. So it is correct and proper for someone to perform Wudhu and Ghusl with that water, such as the water of a stream. Because indeed, that if that water of a stream is flowing, then it is obvious that it will mix with soil and leaves and other things such as trees and bushes and branches and shrubs, and the effect of those things will go into the flowing water, the stream water. And as long as the water is still fluid, the fluidity of the water still remains, and it is galib, it is more than the effect of those items which have mixed into it, it is okay, it is sahih, it is correct to gain purity from that water. And if those items overpower the water, meaning they are more, the effect of it is more than the water itself, then it is not allowed for somebody to do wuzu in that water or to perform ghusl in that water. Now, the sentence over here, it says that the galbah, the overpowering effect, can be noticed by one of the two things which are given on the next page. So here we have number 1 and here is number 2. So the first way of understanding if the water is such that one cannot perform ghusl ablution is that the water is no longer in its original state. Okay, the original state of water is that it's fluid. Another state of water is that it is transparent. It is someone can see through it. Okay, so here it says Kama law sara ma'u sabun, like the water which has been mixed with soap and it has foamed up. The soap has exfoliated in the water. An effect of that is in the water. Or ashnan sakhinan. Ashnan is a type of moss or algae that is very thick. It can also mean salt water. It's a type of a moss which grows in water, which can spread in water. Okay, so water which is become soapy, full of soap and foam, algae or salt water or moss which has become very thick in the water, or the water has become full of soil and it has become muddy because of soil and other things mixed in it. So muddy water, mud water. And remember, if you're ever out in the wilderness and you see water, and there's nothing that's living in the water, then that water might be toxic. It might look like crystal clean water, but always be suspicious and cautious about drinking that water, because it might have toxic properties which has not enabled life to live there. So if there's no fish or tadpoles or any type of moss growing on the water, do not drink that water. Okay. And number 2 is that for that water there has been given another name with a distinction. Okay. So water is completely changed, such as the water has been colored with saffron, and it is very clear and distinct that saffron has amalgamated with the water completely. Yeah, and the benefit of this is that when the color or the taste or the smell, the aroma of the water has changed due to that object or due to that item staying in the water for a long period of time, it is okay to perform wuzu and ghusl with that water. Now, that was to do with objects which are solid falling into the water. If the water is mixed or amalgamated with something which is fluid, and that fluid object has not overcome the water, meaning it has not become more in substance than the actual water, it is okay to perform wuzu with that water. Okay, so if something fluid has mixed into the water and this water is more than that object or than that liquid, it is okay to perform wuzu with that water. And when the fluid liquid, it overpowers the water, meaning it becomes more than the amount of water, and it is not right for it to be used for wuzu, for that water to be used for wuzu. So it's quite a simple rule to understand. If something liquid falls into the water, let's take for example Coca-Cola. A few drops of Coca-Cola or Coke falls into the water, you can still perform wuzu with that water. If you empty a whole bottle of Coke into the water, you can no longer perform wuzu with that water. Now, if it goes on further to state, Lakin bimada, okay, with what will you judge the amount of substance in the water? How will you know when that substance has become more than the amount of water that was there when it has fallen into the water or it has been mixed into the water? Now, when the object which is fluid mixes with the water, there are two qualities in that object, in that substance. I keep saying object. Remember, the object here is the liquid. Now, such as milk. Now, I just want to explain that laban in the Arabic that was used in antiquity, the classical Arabic, in that day and age, laban was used mainly for milk. Today, in a contemporary colloquial Arabic, it is used more so for yogurt. Okay, but I'm going to use a meaning for milk here because milk, it has color and it has taste, but it does not have an aroma. So if milk falls into the water, or if milk is mixed with the water, and one of the qualities of milk, it becomes prevalent and dominant in the water. So either the color of the milk or the taste of the milk becomes dominant in the water, then it is not right to use that water for wuzu. Okay? When the fluid substance, it has three qualities, such as vinegar or milk which has an aroma. Certain types of milk from different animals has a distinct aroma. So goat milk, fresh goat milk, has a distinct aroma compared to cow's milk, and pasteurized milk hardly has any aroma compared to milk that has been extracted there and then, and it hasn't undergone any purification processes. So when that fluid substance, which has three qualities, when in the water, any two of the qualities of that substance becomes manifest and it is dominant, and it is not correct to use that water for wuzu. So if vinegar or milk which has aroma mixes with the water and two of the three qualities are dominant in that water, you cannot use that water for wuzu. Now when that fluid object, it mixes with the water, and that fluid substance, fluid object has no quality, such as musta'mal water, water which has already been used to remove a hadath, hadath al-asghar, hadath al-akbar, or rose water which has no aroma to it, the aroma has dissipated from the rose water, then in this situation you will take into consideration the dominancy by weight, by amount. Okay, what that means is that when you have pure water and you mix it, or by accident it becomes mixed with used water, okay, and the pure water is in abundance compared to the used water, and it is okay to perform wuzu with that. But if that pure water or unused water is less in quantity and volume, or it is equal, it equates the same as the water that it has been mixed with, the used water it has been mixed with, it is not correct for it to be used for wuzu. Now that concludes this section on the types of water. I just want to say that in one of the earlier lessons I mentioned that when we perform wudu, Allah Ta'ala has made it such that first we'll wash our hands, we'll feel the fluidity of the water, then we'll put the water into our mouth, we'll automatically taste the water, then we'll put the water into our nose, we'll smell the water. So before we wash the faraz, which is the face, we already know the three qualities of the water, the color, smell, taste, etc. So it just shows how beautiful our deen is, and how everything has been laid out for us to follow. Okay, now it's my favorite part of the lesson. The students are going to do the work. Now, what I'm thought I'd do here is that I'll read the questions out, and then I will give you the answer. Okay, but after I have read the question out, I will give you a few minutes where you can pause the video, you can pause the session and attempt the questions yourself. or if some of you want, before I read them out, you can go through these questions. Let's scroll down the page. Okay, so you can pause the video at these sections and you can attempt these questions. Okay, so I'm only going to hold it for a few seconds. Okay, so now we'll begin the questions. What are the different types of water? Okay, and what is the difference between abundant water and flowing water and water which is less in volume, less in quantity? Okay, if you want, you can pause now and attempt the answer, or you can have a go at it in one go. So the answer is, there are three types of water: Tahir and Mutahhir, Tahir and Mutahhir, and Najis. So water which itself is clean and it has the ability to make something else clean. Water which itself is clean but it does not possess the quality to make something else clean, and impure water. Those are the three types of waters. And the answer to the next part, what is the difference between abundant water and flowing water and water which is less in volume? The answer is that abundant water will not become impure very easily by something impure falling into it. Flowing water, likewise, it remains pure, remains clean almost all the time, such as a river or a giant reservoir. So Mount Katheer also has measurements which have been defined in Sharia, and water which is less in volume can become impure when one of the qualities of the water changes, when something impure has fallen into it. Okay, now you can go into a lot of detail in that. I just want to keep the answers basic because you should already be jotting down the detailed answers. And please put your answers up on the website, on the forums in the website. For each lesson, for each session, there's a section is designated for comments, etc. So I'll be very happy if the students listening to this put their answers up on there also to share with everybody. Now, number 3. This is question 1. This is question 2. This is question 3. Okay, number 3. So mention some of the types of waters which is not correct to be used for Wudhu or Ghusl. Some of the types of waters is water which is not general water, such as water which has been extracted from trees or flowers or plants, such as coconut water, as I gave an example in the lesson we have just done. The other type of water is water which has been used for cooking and it no longer remains as water, but it's become a very flavored biryani or something. Okay, could you just imagine somebody trying to perform wuzu with biryani water, or the leftover water from biryani? You don't get any ideas, people. Okay, question 4. What is the ruling for water which is impure? So Najis water, what is the ruling? You can pause the video and attempt the question before I go over it. So the ruling for water which is impure is that it cannot be used to remove a hadath or to remove a najasat, and it will make something else impure when it is mixed with that substance. Because if you put impure water into water, it will make it impure. Question 5. Explain in detail a ruling for water in which something pure has been mixed with. Yes, so explain in detail a ruling for water in which something pure has been mixed with. Okay, pause there, attempt the answer. So hopefully you have attempted the answer. The answer can be found if you go back to the recording, back to the session, from pages 58 through to the end of the lesson on page 59. There's a chapter there which states what is the ruling for water in which something pure has been mixed into it. So I don't want to go over everything, and that's where the answer can be found. Okay, the next part is asking us to underline or circle the correct statement to complete the sentence. From the different types of water, these types are mentioned. Which one is not a type of water or which one is a type of water? Tahirun Mutahhirun, al-Musta'mal, al-Najis, kullu ma sabaka. Okay. The answer is all of them. All three are types of water. You can get Tahirun Mutahhir, Tahirun Gair Mutahhir, Ma'ul Musta'mal, Ma'ul Najis. So from the subcategories of water. And the next statement, abundant water or water which is flowing, or when an impurity has mixed with that type of water or has fallen into that water, then without doubt that water is either impure, it is not impure, or when the effect of the impurity becomes manifest or visible in that water, it becomes impure, otherwise it does not become impure. So which one of those statements is correct? Okay, the answer is this one, that when the effect of the impurity becomes so manifest, so visible in the water, then the water is impure, otherwise not. The next statement, it is not correct to perform wuzu ablution with water from a coconut, a rose, or a well. Which one of this is it not right to perform wuzu ghusl with? The answer is a coconut and a rose. Water extracted or which comes from these two things cannot be used for wuzu or for ghusl. Okay, read the following statements and state if they are true or false, and if they are false, then give the correct statement. Okay, pause the video there and have a look at these questions, and then we'll go through the answers with you. Okay, so water does not become musta'mal unless it has separated from the body after it has been used. After we have poured water onto the body, and it has separated by dripping away, that separated water is musta'mal. That statement is true. Now, tazulun najasa, that impurity which has been washed away by ma'ul musta'mal, but ma' musta'mal cannot be used to remove a hadath. That is correct, that's true. Water which is less in quantity and an impurity has fallen into it, or it has been mixed with an impurity, whether the effect of the impurity is visible or not, the water is impure. Is that statement true or false? I'll give you a few seconds to give a tick or a cross. And the answer is that water is impure. Now the next question is, or the next statement is stating that when something is mixed with the water which is pure, when a pure substance is mixed in the water, is it permissible to use the water to gain purity when that substance has not overpowered the qualities of the water? Okay, take a moment to think about that. You can pause if you want. You can look for the answer. And then the answer is, that's correct. As long as that pure substance has not overpowered the qualities of the water. The last statement is saying that when the water has been mixed with something which is fluid, a fluid substance, which has three qualities, and one of the qualities has manifested itself, has become visible in the water. Is it correct? It is correct to perform wuzu with that water. Is that statement true or false? Give a tick or a cross. I'll give you a few moments to write the answer or to look up the answer. You can pause. And the answer is, it is correct to use that water to perform wuzu. Okay, and the last section for today. So the next section is asking that to fill in the blanks with the correct wording. Now, with this, I would want students to write the answers in Arabic, and then we can go over the translation, and the answers are prevalent there in the text we have just gone over. Okay, we will perform wuzu and ghusl liyazul al-hadath, to remove the impurities, the hadath, with something, fi nafsihi, something ligayrihi. So the word in the brackets, the word in the dotted line should be al-ma'ul mutlaq. So you should read bil ma'il mutlaqi. Fi nafsihi, the word here should be al-mutahhir ligayrihi. I'm not going to go over the translation or the explanation, as already come before in the lesson. The next statement, ma'ul mutlaqu, mithlu, something, and it gives you 4 empty spaces to fill in. So for the first one, you can have ma'ul bahri, the water from the oceans and seas. And nahru, you can have that, water from a river. Ma'ul aini, ain is a spring or anything similar to a spring, spring water, boreholes. And the last one, ma'ul bi'ri, the water from a well. Okay. Now the last statement, when water has been mixed with something fluid which has no quality prevalent in it, such as something, otubira galbas, something, be something. So the answer is ma'ul musta'mal, water which has already been used for ghusl or wudhu, and the answer here is bil wazni. Now that concludes the section on the different types of water. And the next chapter is on the ruling for water which has been drunk by a human or animal, and there is a remainder. Now before I start this section, I'm going to stop the sessions there, and I will inshallah seek permission from Mufti Sahab or instructions from Mufti Sahab on the website to see what the next course of sessions will be. Okay, inshallah, in asahtu fa min Allah, wa in akhtatu fa min nafsi wa min shaitan. And I would please urge everybody listening to get back with your responses and your feedback on the sessions. Jazakallah. Assalamu alaikum. Akhir da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Fill in the blanks with the correct vocabulary, with the correct wording. We perform wuzu or ghusl to remove impurities with something which in itself is something ligayrihi. Okay.